Welcome back to Painting Arts and Crafts. We're doing Glass Painting 101. Today we are going to play around with stamps. There's pros and cons to stamps. The pros, I think, for stamps are that you can stamp an image onto your glass and it gives you an instant image that you can work with. Whether you just leave it as a stamp or you use that as a guide to then paint more onto the glass. What I'm going to be doing is that I'm going to use it as the picture, but I'm also going to add some color to it. I'll be working with some PBO, which is a translucent color, transparent color that is going to show up nice. I might highlight with some white pearl. We'll see how that looks. I've got my StazOn cleaner because I'll need that to clean these up later on with. I have something I can use to hold the stamp in place. One of the cons with a stamp is that if it slides on the glass, the image is going to slide. And that can happen quite easily. So really what I'm going to do is put my stamp on my little holder. I'm going to get my ink and I am going to roll it once and lift it up. And that's it. And I get whatever I get. Anything I don't get, I just don't get to have. It's really that simple. So the first thing I'm going to do is figure out which of these stamps I'm going to use based on the size of the images and the glass that I'm working with. I'm leaning towards this guy here. I kind of like him. And I always like this guy here, and I'll show you why, because he'll come out really pretty. So because of, from a design element, I'm gonna put the taller guy to one side and the shorter guy can go to the side next to that. And I'll give you a sense of what that looks like. So the very first thing I'm gonna do is make sure that I've got plenty of ink on my ink pad. I'm gonna add some and while that's soaking in a little bit, I'm going to set it aside. Peel my stamps. I like the silicone stamps for this. The harder rubber ones, I would have a real hard time on a curved surface trying to get them to work. So I don't think he's going to work. I've got a longer set of these, so I think that'll work better for what I'm trying to do. And then before I ink it, I want to kind of make sure that I'm comfortable with where I'm putting it and how I'm going to roll this on the glass. So I'm just going to roll it like that. I will have to go to the left and then I will go to the right. And there is going to be smearing. I'm not going to lie to you. It is definitely going to smear a little bit when I do this. But I have to coat this with clear afterwards, which is fine. I don't mind that. I coat everything when I'm done. So roll this a couple of times. I've got plenty of ink on it. I'm going to hold it up to my glass, roughly where I would like it. And I'm going to roll and hope that I get enough of the image that I'm able to then use it to do some additional drawing with. So did I get everything? No, but I actually got quite a bit. I'm a little bit surprised sometimes at how much I get off of these. I will be cleaning that with the StazOn cleaner in a little bit. The next one I was thinking about using was this guy here. And the StazOn is almost dry already. It does not take long to dry. Because I didn't get everything on that guy, I will probably do a little bit of overlapping. Make sure I've got plenty of ink. I'm trying not to move it around too much, but It is glass. It is sliding around some, and that's okay. So from there, we now have a guide that we can paint with. So I'll close this up so the ink doesn't dry completely out. Let me get that out of the way. And now you're probably looking at it and going, oh, I don't know if I like that or not. You'll like it when we're done, I promise you. So we've got two colors here. One is a light blue and one is a turquoise. And we've got these little dot tools. I've got them in a couple of different sizes. So I'm not going to brush on, I'm going to dot this on. And I'm going to decide basically, that's way too much, where I want to put a dot. I'm just going to flip this over and I'm going to drag that paint. I'm going to add a tiny bit more and I'm going to drag that paint. And I'm going to get a little bit of the blue that's lighter. And I'm going to go on the other side. And I'm going to repeat that with a bunch of these leaves. I'll then come back with black and fill in anything I need to fill in afterwards. And I'm alternating. If you get too much paint on your tool, just clean it off. And you're using the darker color to create areas where you've got more of a, I guess, highlights, and then you're using the lighter color for your highlights, the darker color for your shadows. It's hard for me to paint and talk at the same time. We will use the pearl to create some highlights. He is going to get a nice amount of the color in each of these little leaves. I will use the light blue on the top, and then I'm going to come back with the darker blue as we work our way down the plant. So it's going to be darker at the bottom. With too much paint on my tip, I'll just drop it, another drop somewhere else that I'm going to be adding some color to. Still feel like that's too dark, but another dark. That's going to be dark. That's going to be dark. There should be one over here, and there's not, just because the stamp didn't go to where I wanted it to go. So I'm going to put one in there. I'm going to drag some of the blue down. I'm going to put some of the blue because I'm going to come back with the pearl and show you some interesting ways you can play around with that. I'm going to clean this and pull out some pearl. I don't need much pearl, so I'm just going to work on the lid. And I am going to go to my smallest of these and just put a tiny bit, and going right next to the line that's there. Barely touching everything, just starting to create what might be considered, I guess, you've got underwater shadows and things like that. And I just have to come back and see if I missed any of these little things, and I missed a couple, so I'm filling those in. A little bit of paint. And then this is the branch that's coming over this way, so I'll just finish that one out. Too much paint. Okay. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do kind of the same thing. I'm going to say, okay, this is part of the branch that's coming up. Notice I'm just putting a tiny bit of suggestive on the branches. I'm not trying to draw the branches in. And this paint is mostly dry. So I'm trying to make it look like it's underwater. And things underwater are not clear. They're always a little bit crooked. The light refraction, I guess, of the light. And then and come back and thin them out even maybe a little bit more. Where I need to. Now, what does that look like? And in the previous video, we talked about the bubbles and making it look like the bubbles are coming up from the plants. So we can do that in this one too. Okay. So here, 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 here. other thing we had done is occasional drops, some in complete clear, so it almost just looks like crystals, and some in the darker color. So I'm looking now to see if I need to add any more of that. And add one there. Maybe add one there. Normally I would do the whole glass and then I would come back and decide if I was going to add dots. But because I'm teaching you how to do this, I'm kind of doing it a little bit out of step. And this is the clear that it's milky, but it will go on clear when we're done. So I will add a couple of these. And then to show you what they look like when they're completely dry. Got one right under my finger here. I'm not even sure if you can see it. And it's there to pick up light that's around everything for wherever you're drinking or eating or whatever. This is where we are so far. And we're still coming around the glass. So we have learned how to do frost. We've learned how to paint opaque, what it looks like when we put some pearl on it. We've learned how to use a marker to draw an outline of what we would like to do. We've learned how to use some translucent dots to add a little bit of I don't know, color or as part of the design. We've now learned how to stamp on the glass, and you know, again, pros and cons to that. So we have one more class that we will do on this glass, and that will round up this glass painting technique 101 session that we're doing.